I got a review for you here on the channel today, and that is the R-Core Barebow brass tab that comes in two different versions, with and without notches, using Cordovan as well as a synthetic tab face. I've got both of them here today. I'm going to unbox them, show them to you, and shoot them here at 18 meters or 20 yards and let you know what I think about them. So huge thanks to RS at R-Core for sending me these Barebow tabs, and just like I do on every other review here on the channel, I will let you know when somebody sends me products to review. However, they won't see the review until you see the review, and also I won't pull any punches. I will definitely tell you the truth and let you know exactly what I think about these things, because I am a consumer just like you, not sponsored by anybody at the moment, and I don't want to be, because I get to stay impartial and tell you the truth all along the way. And if you're interested in these R-Core products, not just these tabs, but maybe the grip that I use on my bow and have a whole line of grips through R-Core, you can head to the link in the description below. That is an affiliate link, and it genuinely helps this channel out when you click that link before you shop. But plus, if you use code Kaminski at checkout, you get 10% off any of their products, not just the grips that I have through them as far as my own line, but also that discount code does include the tabs here. Also, I will have links in the description below for everything else that I am using on my bow as far as equipment is concerned. So I'm gonna open up one of these. I don't know which one it is. I believe he sent me a couple of both. So within each box, it's wrapped up really nice with a business card wrapped up in some tissue paper. It's nice looking. It comes in two different versions from what I understand as well, with a thick piece of elastic cord that you can use around your middle finger, or that flat elastic that is designed to go through the slots here on the actual tab itself. So I think what he did is just sent me the full lineup so that way I could review them and get a hands-on view and let you know what I think about it, because it comes in so many different options in large and small, as well as with the Cordovan face and the synthetic face, and with or without the single elastic or the three strap finger elastic. And it looks like they are actually both notched. So what that means is they both have the actual etchings for the crawl marks, and you can order them without those etch marks, which might be helpful for when you're wanting to get your own individual specific crawl. So for me, it's kind of difficult for me to count down all of these lines and remember what distance is what. Plus, there's not really many artifacts on the actual tab itself. Like, there's no logo. You can add that, though, as a personalized feature and other things, but there's nothing really there that, besides a couple of holes and a couple of other things, that I would be able to say, okay, that hole down 2, right? So that hole there, that screw head down 2, and then that's maybe my 50-meter crawl or something. If you got them without the etching, you could actually make individual lines for every 10 meters, every 5 meters, or whatever. And according to World Archery rules, from what I understand, you can do that. You can actually make hand-done marks or have machine marks, as this is, as far as lasers are concerned. You're allowed a maximum of 2 different size, shape, or color marks. That doesn't mean you can have 6 different marks. That means you can have 2 different marks. So say if you use a red and a green, or use a long line and a short line, something like that, as far as how you can differentiate between every 5 meters versus every 10 meters, or whatever you want to call it. You can also just have 1 mark for 18 meters or 1 mark for 50 meters only. So that might be an option you may want to consider. These are a good place to start if you have no idea where to go. And if you don't know how to crawl, don't know how to string walk, I do have a video I've already made. I'll have links in the description below and a card at the top up there for you to click on and check out in case you don't know how to properly string walk. I find actually a fair amount of barebow shooters don't quite understand how to do it, and hopefully that tutorial will help sort some things out for you, and you can shoot just like I do using these marks accurately. I am definitely gonna need a large tab. This is a small tab, and you can see that. You can't even see the leather on either side of my fingers, and in fact, when I line it up here like this, my finger actually overhangs off the top and bottom of the tab face when I'm in a hooked position. And for reference, I wear size XL gloves. That's the only way that I can actually fit gloves in this manner around the circumference of my palm. My fingers are actually not long as far as XL are concerned. That might be somewhere in the large range. So if you wear large to XL gloves, you're definitely gonna want the large tab, not the small tab, at least in my opinion. And then as far as the tab face is concerned, this is the synthetic tab face. I don't know what it's called, but I will have a little lower third down in the bottom saying what Arcor calls it. And it's interesting looking. I definitely am going to want to shoot it and see what happens to the arrow landing and the actual potential tune change, as well as maybe speed changes downrange to see what happens. And it looks to be a little rubbery, so I can actually stretch it a good amount. So if I get it here, I can actually stretch it, right? So potentially that may not be a good thing because there's a lot of pressure on that string and it's coming off the fingers. It can actually stretch that tab face and do some funky things with the tune. So we're gonna see what actually happens when I swap out the different tab faces and to try that. And it's all held together with Phillips head screws, which should be pretty easy to change when you want to swap out tab faces and go with different setups. So I'll set that aside, and now we'll take a look at the actual Cordovan tab face. That's what's on this XL here. I don't see any artifacts saying that it is from, say, Horween, because that's actually the main producer of Cordovan, and Cordovan is actually horse leather, and it is the hindquarters on a horse. Now, that is definitely the most popular tab face material that you could possibly get, and it is very particular as far as I'm concerned. At my level, I'm very particular about the actual Cordovan that is used, because not all Cordovan is created equally, but the Horween version is far superior to anything else. However, it's much more expensive because it's a very small shape. It's only about this big, and 2 of them come off of each animal, and it's not cheap stuff at all. So both of them look pretty similar. They're dyed about the same color, dyed black, and the back looks similar. One way to really tell if it is Cordovan is if it has a grain, because the actual leather grows in a grain formation like hair does when it comes out of your body. And I don't feel a definitive grain on this leather, at least not on the small tab face that he sent me. So the way that you can actually test it is you take the leather, you bend it backwards, and then you run your finger over the surface, and you'll feel one direction's rough, one direction's smooth. And that's how you can determine if the actual tab face is real Cordovan, because real Cordovan will have a definitive grain to it. And I'm just not feeling it on this. So it is probably still Cordovan. It's just not the ultra high quality premium Cordovan that is the exact location on the animal that I'm looking for. But if I take my recurve tab here and I do that same thing and I flip it over backwards, it's very smooth this way and very rough this way. There's a very defined feel to the actual tab face. So it's smooth going the direction that the string would be going and very rough the other direction. And this is not because it is worn in. Every true high quality piece of Cordovan has a grain to it, and I think the stuff that they're using here on this tab, it's probably still Cordovan, but I don't think it's the ultra high premium version, which is understandable. It's very hard to get and also very expensive, and oftentimes found in very short supply, and also very infrequently found because it's also used in very high-end purses, in case you didn't know. And because of the overall shape of the tab face here, it's very blocky and very square. I'm gonna go get my hobby scissors and cut the tab face because it is definitely excessively long, and definitely I'm gonna need to clean that up. So I'm gonna pause the video and go grab a pair of scissors, as well as get some bug spray because the mosquitoes have found me here today in Florida. All right, so while I was at it, after I cut my leather, I went ahead and installed the 3-finger elastic loops I ran it and tightened it down for my hands, and I had this much left over. So it should be good for people of much bigger hand size than mine. But basically all I did was where I wanted the tab in my hand, I laid my fingers on it in the curled position like this, drew a line where I would want to cut it, and then just cut it right there. And I made the backing just a smidge longer than the front because it has to go along a bigger radius, which effectively shortens that part of the tab. And after I shoot a few shots with this Cordovan face, I'll swap out for the synthetic face and I'll cut it in the exact same shape, and we'll see if my crawl marks change at all over time. So, a little bit more on the actual leather. Even though it's not the highest end premium Cordovan, I'm sure it's still gonna last really long. My own personal preference is Cordovan. I wish there was a really nice synthetic tab face available, and maybe this one will just be the ticket. I haven't shot it yet, and I have no idea what it is and what it's made out of, and maybe it'll work out really, really well. But the overall feel in the hand, now that I've got the 3 elastic straps instead of the really thick cord around the middle finger, is it's far more comfortable. It's not digging into the sides of my finger and causing me some discomfort. This is a very comfortable tab to actually wear, and I'm gonna shoot it here in a second. All right, so I'm here at 18 meters or 20 yards, like I've already said, and I'm gonna use my ATF DX as the test bow today. And I am rocking the new Kaminski archery Barebow weights, as you can see here. I'll have links in the description below and a card at the top up there to my website, jkaminski.com, where these are available. I just launched these. They are only available in limited quantities to start before we go into full production, and we're already in some single-digit quantities as far as inventory is concerned on a couple of different sizes as of recording this video. So if you haven't got them, you might want to get a set. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till early to mid-December for the full-blown launch. And trust me, you're going to want a set of these. It just makes the Barebow feel incredible as far as the lack of vibration and how much better they sound with these Barebow weights. Nothing compares to it on the market as far as I'm concerned. Not even powdered tungsten. You might as well be shooting a solid weight in regards to the comparison between the difference between these and tungsten to a solid Barebow weight. It's just, this blows everything out of the water. Definitely is nice and quick off the fingers. Feels really, really good. Quite happy with how it actually feels. It's not overly thick, and because the backing is actually fairly thick, but not too bad, it's actually, at least on that first shot, feels quite good on my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not slipping at all, but I do have a good feel of the actual string. It is definitely, I haven't shot a lot of Barebow tabs, full disclosure. I've only shot 2. I've shot the Yoast and I've shot the Fairweather tab, and this is offering so far, even though I've only shot 2 shots, the better protection amongst those other 2. Yes, the Fairweather came with more layers. I don't like adding more than 2 layers personally into my actual tabs, but this actually feels quite good already right off the bat. Yeah, there's no slippage, and I have a nice positive feel of where the fingers are on the string, but I'm not getting that stinging feeling in my ring finger like I get sometimes. There is definitely a white spot there because it's definitely a little thin still in some spots. Doing some drive-bys here today, so Joel would not be proud. Yeah, so I'm not getting any slippage, which I'm very happy about. And like I said, it definitely offers a fair bit of protection. My finger is starting to turn a little bit white. That was 6 arrows there. And I think over time it would definitely still be irritated. I have no callus on that finger, not like I used to when I shot a lot, so that would definitely develop over time. I'd still probably throw a single layer of Cordovan tape on there, you know, veterinary tape for horses. But overall, the tab face is definitely starting to take some lines from the actual serving, so you can actually see the wear marks on the tab. Don't know if you'll be able to see it on video, but you should see streaks going this direction from the actual serving. There's no slipping going on vertically, and there's no slipping going on with the string wanting to slip out of my fingers forward. Everything feels quite good, and overall I'm fairly happy with how the tab feels in the hand. It's a little tough to actually set the crawl on these notches. The notches in that angle of that radius, or that angle there, that kind of heads down towards the front, I can't get my thumb, actually the thumbnail, into one of the grooves of where the actual laser etching is. Arcor does say that you could use it as your thumbnail to feel the edge. And when you go down like this, I can feel it, but I can't get my thumb around or the tab flat enough relative to my thumb. It's just, I don't have the dexterity for that. It's just slipping straight on the edge. I'm not able to get all the way up in there, at least where I'm putting the string on the tab and how I'm setting my crawl. So maybe those notches could come back a little bit further into the flat face on the surface of the actual tab face, and maybe then I would feel the actual notches with my fingernail, but it's not a big deal. I can still set my crawl relatively accurately. And like I said, there's so many notches here, I have to manually count from the bottom to get to the 5 full big marks up from the bottom to get my rough crawl mark here at 18 meters. You know, it's just, there's not a lot of artifacts, like I said, on the face to be able to memorize off of. So potentially going without those notches and just making a mark with a permanent marker might be something that I'd be more interested in and more inclined to do. So that end, I'm just going to end it there. There's no reason for me to keep shooting for more than that. I think it'd be just fine over time. You know, it definitely is the best Barebow tab I've shot so far because of a multitude of factors. The main thing is going to be that 3-finger elastic loop. It's far more comfortable than using just a single finger, the big cord especially. It's very rough on the fingers as far as the feel is concerned. It feels very solid in my hand, and it doesn't want to fly out of my hand, which is nice. And there's no slipping, no creeping, no nothing going on as far as the actual tab face is concerned. So I'm going to go down and get the arrows, and I'm going to swap this out for the synthetic tab face, and we'll shoot a few ends there. I'm going to use the same crawl, and we'll see where the arrow impacts shift on the target, if at all. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the synthetic face and trace out a mark after I line it up with the Cordovan face. So let's see if I can tear the cutoff, and I can't. It's quite durable. I did stretch it and distort it a little bit. It's pretty tough stuff though. Even though it does stretch, it's not tearing. And it's quite robust. If I cut a nick in it though, see if I got a nick now, it still doesn't want to tear. So I think this stuff, I stretched it a little bit more with that nick. I think it's going to last a considerable amount of time. One side has some texture and one side's nice and smooth, so I would assume the smooth side goes out towards the string. Now what I am noticing as I'm assembling this back together is that the synthetic tab face is considerably thinner than the Cordovan tab face for what it's worth. It's definitely just a little bit on the thin side as far as I'm concerned. And it's stretchy, so it might be a little... It might not protect my fingers as much as I'm wanting to. I'm just guessing based on what it looks like. But we'll find out here in a second as I get all the fasteners tightened back down. So because this is a bit more rubberized, I would imagine I won't slip at all. I am using Power Grip center serving. I use that specifically for Barebow because of the extra grip that I get. Otherwise, I slip vertically after I set my crawl, and obviously that wouldn't be very consistent. Using the center serving I almost always use for recurve, which is Halo. It's just too slick. And use the same crawl, definitely much thinner. Actually hitting almost in the exact same place, slightly higher, and I'm surprised it hit the same place actually. Now at 50 meters this may not hit the same place. The arrows are not flying well, definitely telling me the tune is not right. Very expected though to have tab faces change your tune dramatically. Yeah, overall it's very, very thin. I can feel the string a lot. See how my fingers feel after shooting 6 arrows. Hitting slightly higher than the other tab face. Now for reference, I am shooting probably north of 40 pounds. I would probably guess somewhere in the 44 to 45 pound range currently, maybe as low as 43. So if you're shooting a lighter draw weight, this tab face might be actually quite nice. It's just definitely a little thin for this higher draw weight. Actually, it's just really not that bad. You can see a little bit of the whiteness in my fingertip there. So that is the same, and that is what usually bothers me on a thin tab face, is the actual like blood squeezing out of the fingertip itself, and that hurts over time. But I'm actually feeling, wait for the plane to go by, but I'm actually feeling a fair amount of discomfort where the string sits on my fingers when at full draw, like right through this area here. So not on the actual tip of the finger, but I can feel where the string was still on my fingers when at full draw, and that's gonna be a problem for me as far as how many arrows I could shoot. If I shot 30 arrows to 50 arrows with that feeling, without any additional finger protection or an additional layer of backing or something else, it would really cause some problems, and I would absolutely, no matter how I hook the string, have numbness and tingling of the fingers in a very short period of time. So I think this synthetic tab face really would be better for a lower draw weight, somebody who's interested in wearing maybe a glove in addition to the actual tab. I've seen people doing that, including, you know, even Olympic gold medalists like Michele Frangili specifically used to shoot with a tab and a glove. And you know, you can do it at a very high level and be very successful with it. But for me, I like to keep things simple, just have 2 layers of leather. Start to get too much, they get kind of tangled and bunched up and balled up sometimes, at least in my opinion and in my experience. But going with too much thicker of a backing could cause a problem. So just keep in mind that if you already deal with issues on your fingers as far as the string pressure and pain and discomfort and numbness, I would definitely go towards the Cordovan side of things, or potentially grab yourself an additional layer of backing if you're interested in that. However, this plasticky stuff, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. I don't see any sort of lines or abrasions from the actual serving like it did in the actual Cordovan face. It's very robust and seems to hold up to abuse quite well. I didn't see any issues there. I didn't feel it tearing, or not tearing. I didn't feel it stretching. I didn't feel it flapping or anything like that upon release. It felt quite good. It's just a little bit thin for my preference. Maybe he can offer these in thicker versions, because it is definitely interesting. It has taken a weird shape, started to maybe stretch. You can see how it's curved relative to the tab face. odd. So I don't know, maybe it's already stretched a little bit or taken a set. I don't know. It's very interesting, and I'm always interested in finding a synthetic tab face that basically hits the same place, because when it's pouring rain out and your leather soaks up a ton of water, you're going to hit really low and you start to actually stretch the leather out, and this stuff probably wouldn't stretch when it got wet. It probably wouldn't affect your sight marks or your crawls all that much, at least not in comparison to a wet leather tab. So it should hold up well to places like in the UK where it rains all the time. You might want to run this kind of tab face, but just beware that it is a little bit thin for my preference. But like I said, I'm shooting north of 40 pounds. You know, if you're shooting in the mid-20 range, I'm sure this tab face would be absolutely lovely for you. You'd actually be able to feel the string much, much easier, and it wouldn't cause discomfort probably, at least not in moderate volumes of arrows. If you're shooting several hundred a day, you definitely have some problems with how thin this tab is. So all in all things considered, the actual tab itself, the machining on it is quite nice. The fasteners work well. Phillips head is a nice touch, because then you don't have people messing up and using standard wrenches or fighting over if it should be standard or metric. And there's only 6 fasteners, which is nice. You can swap the actual tab faces quite quickly. You can put in 3-finger elastic or use a single-finger elastic quite quickly and easily. I much prefer the 3-finger straps. I also prefer the Cordovan leather face, even though it's not, at least from my tiny little bit of detective work, it's not the high premium end version of Cordovan. It does still feel like Cordovan, and it appears to wear like Cordovan does, in my opinion. It is definitely a very comfortable tab as far as I'm concerned when using the 3-finger elastic straps, as well as using the Cordovan leather. Very comfortable on my fingers. The most comfortable Barebow tab from stock that I've actually put on and shot. I wish it had some sort of artifacts or something on the tab. You could customize it by putting a logo or something down in that corner, that spot, so you could use that as artifacts to say what your crawl is, because up at the top here, you could say use like the line next to O on core for a given distance, and then use the E, and then use the holes for the elastic in the middle, and then use the bolt hole here, and use all those things to kind of reference off of when you know what distance you're shooting. But to have to manually count so many different marks, it's a little bit much for me, in my opinion, and it's a lot to memorize. So I would probably go with the blank one without the notches, and then just make marks manually. As I covered earlier in the video, it is allowed according to World Archery rules, with a particular set of guidelines, including only 2 different marks allowed on the whole tab face. They all have to be roughly the same length, thickness, color, shape, whatever you want to call it. Only 2 different markings on the tab face. So overall, I think RS did well here. It's a really nice tab, and if you're already ordering R-Core grips, you might want to consider grabbing one of these, or if you're considering ordering one of these, consider grabbing an R-Core grip. Like I said, if you use that link in the description below, it helps this channel out. Also, if you use code Kaminski at checkout, you get 10% off. And so far, definitely one of my favorite feeling tabs. I just need to find something that I can put my fingernail on, my thumbnail, and get a bit of a purchase there for a tab sear, because I kind of did drive-bys here the entire time. I'm sure you could see that on the video. Yeah, you know, target panic and all. But yeah, besides the tab, like I said, if you're interested in these Kaminski Archery dampened Barebow weights or checking out the video, like I said, links in the description below, card at the top up there to the actual review of these Barebow weights. You should check them out. Really kills vibration, and I've only got a handful left of some of the sizes already. They're selling out quick in this first initial run. So again, huge thank you to RS. Can't thank you enough. Thanks for sending me these Barebow tabs. Sorry it took me so long to actually review them. And overall, I think it's a good buy, and definitely the most comfortable Barebow tab I've shot so far. Hey, if you like this video, consider sharing it. Genuinely, that would help this channel out. I don't operate any other social media, and I rely on you to help spread the word about the channel. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please do consider supporting this channel. There's many different links in the description below. If you click those affiliate links before you go shop, that really genuinely helps this channel out. And if you're using some of the discount codes that I have down in the description below, I help save you some money as well along the way. Also, if you wouldn't mind, check out some of the other things, including my Patreon, Discord server, and other things like that. Genuinely, that helps this channel out as far as support, and I can't thank my supporters enough. Without you, I wouldn't be able to produce this content, at least not to this level, so thanks.